Let me ask you something important. In today's world, who really wins? Is it the strongest person in the room? Is it the loudest voice? Is it the fastest mover? No. The people who win are the ones who can think clearly when everyone else is panicking. They pause when others react. They see patterns while others only see noise. This is what real intelligence looks like. Being smart is not about IQ. It is not about degrees. It is not about sounding intelligent. Real intelligence is how you think under pressure. It is how you decide when emotions are high and information is unclear. Most people never learn this. They live on autopilot. They wake up, react, scroll, rush, copy opinions, and repeat the same patterns every day. They confuse movement with progress and noise with truth. Slowly, without realizing it, they waste years chasing things that do not matter. Not because they are lazy, not because they are stupid, but because no one taught them how to think. In a noisy world, the loudest voices are often the weakest thinkers. In a fast world, quick reactions are often the worst decisions. Most people are not living their own life. They are living inside someone else's expectations. This video is not here to give you quick tips. It is not here to motivate you for 5 minutes. It is not here to make you feel smart. This is a blueprint, a mental framework, a way of thinking that changes how you see problems, people, and yourself. It helps you stop being manipulated by emotions, trends, and opinions. It helps you stop chasing goals that look good but feel empty. It helps you stop reacting to life and start responding with intention. Because clarity is power. Clarity gives you calm. Clarity gives you direction. Clarity gives you control. If you truly understand what you are about to hear, something will shift. You will listen differently. You will think more slowly but more deeply. You will notice things you used to miss. Your English will improve as you listen. Your vocabulary will grow. Your thinking will become clearer. Your words will become sharper. But more than that, your mind will become stronger. This is not about becoming smarter than others. This is about becoming smarter than your old self. And that journey starts now. Stay present. Stay curious. Stay mentally awake. Here is the truth most people never hear. You can have motivation. You can have talent. You can have dreams. But if your thinking is weak, your life will always feel chaotic. Many people confuse intelligence with information. They collect facts, quotes, and opinions, but their lives stay messy. Why? Because information without thinking is just noise. It does not guide decisions. It does not protect you under pressure. Smartness is not about knowing everything. Smartness is about not being controlled by emotions that explode in difficult moments, controlled by fear that whispers reasons to quit, controlled by other people's opinions that slowly erase your own voice. A smart mind is a free mind. When something unexpected happens, most people react instantly. They speak too fast. They decide too fast. They regret too late. Their emotions take the wheel, and logic disappears. Smart people move differently. They pause. They breathe. They create space between what happens and how they respond. That pause is not weakness. It is power. Because inside that pause, thinking returns, clarity returns, choice returns. Smart people do not follow blindly. They question before they agree. They observe before they commit. They think independently even when it is uncomfortable. This is why smart people are often misunderstood. They do not rush with the crowd. They do not chase every trend. They do not need approval to move forward. They are not afraid of being wrong. They are afraid of being stuck. Being wrong is feedback. Being stuck is decay. A person who is wrong can learn. A person who is stuck repeats the same life for years. This is where real intelligence shows itself. Smartness protects you from manipulation. It helps you notice when emotions are being used against you. It helps you see when someone is selling fear, urgency, or false hope. In a world designed to distract you, clarity becomes survival. In a world that profits from your attention, thinking becomes rebellion. This is not about becoming smarter than everyone else. This is about becoming harder to control. When your thinking is clear, your decisions improve. When your decisions improve, your confidence becomes real. Not loud confidence, quiet confidence. The kind that doesn't need validation. The kind that stays calm in chaos. This is not learning to know. This is learning to live. Learning to survive emotional storms. Learning to adapt when plans break. Learning to lead yourself before trying to lead others. Because leadership always starts inside. If you can control your thinking, you can control your direction. And when you control your direction, life stops feeling random. It starts feeling intentional. Rule 1. Listen more than you speak. Most people talk to feel important. Smart people listen to understand. This difference may sound small, but it changes everything. When you talk too much, your mind is closed. You are busy preparing your next sentence instead of receiving new information. You are protecting your ego, not expanding your intelligence. When you listen deeply, your mind opens. You collect details. You notice patterns. You understand people beyond their words. That is why the quietest person in the room is often the one learning the most. Silence is not emptiness. Silence is data. In conversations, most people rush to speak. They interrupt, they compete, they try to sound smart, confident, or interesting. But smart people do the opposite. They slow down, they watch facial expressions, they hear tone, not just words. They pay attention to what is said and what is avoided. Listening is not passive, it is active mental work. When you listen well, you sharpen your focus. Your attention becomes stable instead of scattered. You stop reacting emotionally and start processing information clearly. Listening builds patience. You learn to wait. You learn that you do not need to respond immediately to everything. This patience protects you from saying things you later regret. Listening also builds emotional intelligence. You begin to understand how people feel, not just what they claim. You sense tension, confidence, fear, or insecurity. This awareness helps you communicate better and avoid unnecessary conflict. Think about powerful people you respect. They do not rush their words. They do not fill silence with noise. When they speak, it is calm, clear, and intentional. Why? Because they spent more time listening than talking. Imagine a meeting with two people. One person speaks constantly, sharing opinions, explaining ideas, trying to be noticed. The other person listens carefully, asks one thoughtful question, and speaks briefly. When the meeting ends, who feels more powerful? Usually, it is not the loud one. It is the one whose words mattered. Smart people do not speak to fill silence. They speak to add value. When you talk less, people listen more when you finally speak. Your words carry weight because they are rare and considered. Listening also protects you. It helps you notice manipulation. It helps you hear inconsistency. It helps you understand someone's true intentions before trusting them. In a noisy world, listening is a competitive advantage. To practice this rule, start small. Pause before responding. Give yourself 2 seconds. Ask yourself, do I need to speak right now or do I need to listen more? Ask better questions. Simple, open questions invite deeper answers and reveal more information than long speeches. Repeat important points silently in your mind. This trains focus and improves understanding. Write down ideas that matter. Smart people capture thoughts instead of letting them disappear. Over time, listening changes your identity. You become calmer. You become more observant. You become harder to manipulate. People feel heard around you. They trust you more. They respect you without knowing exactly why. Because listening is strength disguised as quiet. Remember this mantra: I don't speak to impress, I speak to add value. When you live by this rule, your mind grows sharper, your relationships improve, your decisions become wiser, and without trying to look intelligent, you become exactly that. Smart people don't read fast, they read deep. They are not in a race to finish books, they are in a process to transform their thinking. One book that truly changes how you think is more powerful than 20 books you barely remember. Speed may impress people, but depth changes lives. Most people treat reading like entertainment. They read when they are bored, they skim pages, they highlight quotes, they close the book and move on. Nothing changes. Smart people read differently. They read with intention. They read with questions. They read slowly enough to let ideas challenge their existing beliefs. Reading is not about consuming words. It is about reshaping the way your mind works. When you read deeply, you are training your focus. You are strengthening your ability to sit with complexity without escaping. You are learning to think in longer patterns instead of short reactions. This is mental training. A strong mind is not built by motivation alone. It is built by sustained attention. Smart readers do not ask, how many pages did I finish? They ask, what changed inside me? They pause after paragraphs. They reflect on ideas. They connect what they read to real situations in their life. They do not just agree. They challenge the author. They argue silently. They test ideas against reality. That internal dialogue is where intelligence grows. Reading deeply also builds patience. In a world of short videos and fast scrolling, reading trains you to slow down. It teaches your brain that meaningful understanding takes time. This patience transfers into life. You become less impulsive. You think before you act. You respond instead of reacting. Smart readers choose books carefully. Not every book deserves your attention. They select books that stretch their thinking, not just confirm what they already believe. They read books that feel difficult at first, books that require rereading, books that make them uncomfortable. Discomfort is not a sign to quit. It is a sign of growth. Deep reading also improves how you speak and write. You absorb structure, logic, and vocabulary naturally. Your language becomes clearer because your thinking becomes clearer. This is why reading improves English at a deeper level. You are not memorizing words. You are learning how ideas are built. Smart readers take notes. They write questions in the margins. They summarize ideas in their own words. If you cannot explain an idea simply, you did not truly understand it. Teaching what you read, even to yourself, forces clarity. It reveals gaps in understanding. It turns passive reading into active learning. Reading deeply also protects you from manipulation. When you understand how ideas are constructed, you become harder to deceive. You recognize weak arguments. You question emotional language. This is intellectual self-defense. A smart reader does not rush. They respect the process. They allow books to change them slowly. That is the real purpose of reading. Not to finish, not to impress, not to collect, but to evolve. Remember this mantra and return to it often. I read to change my thinking, not my bookshelf. When reading becomes transformation, not consumption, your mind becomes sharper, calmer, and stronger. And over time, without forcing it, you become someone who thinks with depth and clarity. People lie with words. They reveal truth with behavior. Most people listen only to what is said. Smart people watch what is shown. Words are easy to control. Behavior is not. Anyone can say the right thing. Anyone can promise. Anyone can sound confident, kind, or honest. But behavior tells the real story. Smart people learn to read tone, not just language. They notice how something is said, not only what is said. A calm voice under pressure reveals confidence. A defensive tone reveals insecurity. A sudden change in tone often reveals discomfort or fear. They pay attention to silence. Silence is not empty. Silence is information. What someone avoids saying often matters more than what they explain. Long pauses, hesitation, or changing the subject can reveal uncertainty or hidden intention. Smart people also observe reactions. How does someone react when challenged? How do they react when they do not get their way? How do they react when they make a mistake? Reactions reveal character. Words reveal intention. Character decides outcomes. Consistency is another powerful signal. Smart people watch patterns over time. They do not judge someone based on one conversation or one moment. They observe whether words and actions align repeatedly. If someone speaks about values but behaves differently, the behavior is the truth. This is why smart people do not rush to trust. They do not assume. They do not label quickly. They watch first. Observation protects you. It protects you from manipulation. It protects you from false confidence. It protects you from emotional decisions. Imagine entering a new environment, a workplace, a group, a social circle. Most people try to impress. They talk more. They reveal opinions quickly. They expose their weaknesses without realizing it. Smart people do the opposite. They stay quiet at first. They observe who speaks with authority. They notice who listens and who interrupts. They see who is respected without demanding attention. They watch how people treat those with no power. They notice how people behave when no reward is present. That is where truth lives. Observation also builds emotional intelligence. You begin to sense tension before conflict appears. You feel shifts in energy before words change. You understand people without asking direct questions. This skill makes you calm in social situations. You stop guessing. You stop overreacting. You respond with awareness instead of emotion. Smart people know that trust is earned through time and behavior. They allow people to reveal themselves naturally. They do not force closeness. They do not overshare. They let observation guide decisions. This applies to friendships, to relationships, to business, to leadership. The person who observes well rarely feels surprised. They saw the signs early. To train this skill, start small. When you enter a room, notice posture and eye contact. When someone speaks, watch their hands and breathing. When silence appears, resist the urge to fill it. Let people show you who they are. Observation requires patience. It requires humility. It requires control of ego, but it gives clarity. Clarity saves time. Clarity saves energy. Clarity saves you from regret. Remember this mantra and return to it often. I observe before I decide. When observation becomes a habit, you stop reacting blindly. You choose wisely. And without trying to control others, you gain quiet influence and deep respect. Life will change. People will change. The world will change. This is not a threat. It is a fact. Most people know this intellectually, but emotionally they resist it. They cling to plans, identities, and expectations that no longer fit reality. When change arrives, they panic, they complain, they freeze. Smart people respond differently. They adjust. Adaptability is not about giving up. It is about staying effective when conditions shift. Smart people understand one crucial difference. They change strategy, not identity. Their values stay stable, their principles stay clear, but their methods remain flexible. When plans fail, they do not collapse, they recalibrate. When circumstances shift, they do not blame the world, they ask, what now? Adaptability is mental strength. It means you can face uncertainty without losing control. It means you can move forward even without perfect clarity. In a fast-changing world, rigid thinking is dangerous. Old solutions stop working. Familiar paths disappear. Comfort becomes a trap. Smart people do not panic when the rules change. They study the new rules. They observe before reacting. They learn before judging. They test instead of resisting. This mindset protects them from fear. Fear appears when you believe there is only one way forward. Adaptability creates options. When one door closes, a flexible mind looks for another entrance. When one skill becomes outdated, an adaptable person learns a new one. This does not mean chasing every trend. It means staying open, open to feedback, open to correction, open to growth. Smart people understand that failure is not the opposite of success. Inflexibility is. Failure provides information. Adaptability uses it. This is why adaptable people recover faster. They do not waste energy denying reality. They accept it, then work with it. Adaptability also requires humility. You must be willing to say, I was wrong. You must be willing to learn from people younger, different, or more experienced than you. Ego resists change. Intelligence embraces it. In relationships, adaptability allows understanding. In careers, it allows survival. In leadership, it creates trust. People trust those who remain calm during uncertainty. They follow those who adjust without losing direction. Adaptability does not mean losing yourself. It means protecting what matters while updating how you move. Think of a tree in a storm. The rigid tree snaps. The flexible tree bends and survives. Strength is not stiffness. Strength is resilience. To build adaptability, start by changing your language. Replace "this is not how I do things" with "let me learn." Replace "this shouldn't happen" with "what can I do now?" Expose yourself to new environments, new ideas, new perspectives. Challenge routines that no longer serve you. Ask regularly, is this still working? Adaptability grows through discomfort, not chaos, but controlled challenge. Small adjustments build mental flexibility. Over time, flexibility becomes confidence. You stop fearing change. You expect it. You stop needing certainty. You trust your ability to adapt. That is real security. Remember this mantra: I bend, not break. When you live by it, life stops feeling like a threat. Change becomes movement. Uncertainty becomes opportunity, and instead of surviving change, you learn how to grow through it. Smart people don't say, "I know." They say, "Why?" That single word keeps their mind alive. Curiosity is not a childish habit. It is one of the strongest signs of intelligence. It is the engine behind learning, growth, and clear thinking. When curiosity disappears, the mind becomes rigid. Even intelligent people can become mentally old. They stop questioning. They stop exploring. They repeat the same thoughts, opinions, and beliefs for years. Curiosity keeps your mind young because it keeps your mind open. Curious people are not obsessed with being right. They're obsessed with understanding. They are comfortable saying, "I don't know yet." That sentence is powerful. It means you are not pretending. It means you are open. It means your mind is ready to expand. Most people avoid curiosity because it feels uncomfortable. Asking questions can expose ignorance. It can make you feel slow or behind. Smart people accept that discomfort. They know curiosity leads to clarity. They ask why things work the way they do, why people behave the way they behave, why systems fail, why ideas succeed. They do not stop at surface explanations. They dig deeper. Curiosity helps you connect ideas across fields. It allows you to see patterns others miss. It turns confusion into insight. Without curiosity, learning becomes memorization. With curiosity, learning becomes discovery. This is why smart people remain students for life. They never reach a point where they believe they are finished growing. The moment you think you know enough, growth stops. That is why curiosity must be protected. But curiosity alone is not enough. Smart people do something more. They challenge their mind. If your thinking is always easy, you are not growing. If everything you read feels familiar, your mind is comfortable, not strong. Growth requires mental resistance. Smart people choose mental discomfort on purpose. They read hard books that slow them down. They explore ideas that challenge their beliefs. They ask questions without quick answers. Discomfort is not a signal to stop. It is a signal that growth is happening. Mental challenge builds endurance. It trains your brain to focus longer. It improves your ability to think clearly under pressure. When you challenge your mind, confusion becomes normal. And instead of avoiding confusion, you learn to sit with it. This builds confidence. Not loud confidence, quiet confidence. The confidence that says, "I can figure this out." Smart people also expose themselves to unfamiliar ideas, different cultures, different perspectives, different ways of thinking. They do not feel threatened by difference. They feel curious. They listen before judging. They try to understand before disagreeing. This habit sharpens critical thinking. It prevents intellectual laziness. Challenging your mind also means questioning your own assumptions, asking, "What if I'm wrong? What if there's a better explanation? What am I not seeing?" That question alone can unlock growth. Curiosity opens the door. Challenge strengthens what walks through it. Together, they create a powerful mind. A mind that learns quickly. A mind that adapts. A mind that does not break when ideas collide. Remember these mantras and return to them often. I don't know yet, and that's powerful. Growth lives outside comfort. When curiosity becomes a habit and challenge becomes normal, your thinking deepens, your perspective widens, your intelligence matures. And without trying to look smart, you become someone who truly thinks. Emotion without control destroys intelligence. You can be knowledgeable, you can be talented, you can be experienced, But in the moment emotions take over, all of that disappears. One emotional reaction can destroy a relationship. One emotional message can damage a reputation. One emotional decision can change a life in the wrong direction. This is why emotional control is not optional, it is essential. Smart people do not lack emotions. They feel deeply. They feel anger, fear, excitement, disappointment, and joy like everyone else. The difference is this: they do not allow emotions to make decisions for them. Most people confuse emotional control with suppression. They think controlling emotions means ignoring them or pretending they do not exist. That is not control. That is avoidance. Smart people do something different. They acknowledge emotions, but they do not obey them. They create a pause. That pause is everything. When something triggers you, the brain reacts instantly. The emotional center activates before logic has time to respond. If you act immediately, you act blindly. But a pause interrupts that process. Even 2 or 3 seconds can bring awareness back. Breathing slows the body, thinking returns. That small pause can save relationships. Instead of saying something sharp, you stay silent. Instead of attacking, you ask a question. It can save decisions. Instead of quitting, you wait. Instead of reacting, you reassess. It can save reputations. Instead of sending a message fueled by emotion, you write it later or not at all. Smart people understand that emotions are temporary, but consequences are permanent. They do not ask, "What do I feel like doing right now?" They ask, "What is the smartest action in this moment?" That question shifts control back to the mind. Emotional control also builds respect. People trust those who remain calm under pressure. They follow those who do not collapse emotionally when things go wrong. Calm is contagious. So is chaos. When you control your emotions, you become stable in unstable situations. That stability becomes strength. Smart people also learn to name their emotions. Instead of saying, "I'm fine," they identify what they feel. I'm angry because I feel disrespected. I'm anxious because I fear losing control. Naming emotions creates distance. You stop drowning in them and start observing them. Observation reduces intensity. Clarity increases. Writing is another powerful tool. Smart people often write before they speak. They let emotions leave the body through words on paper, not through destructive actions. Once emotions are released safely, decisions become clearer. Emotional control is not built in comfort. It is trained. Smart people expose themselves to small stress intentionally, difficult conversations, challenging tasks, controlled discomfort. This builds emotional muscle. When bigger challenges arrive, they are prepared. They do not panic easily. They do not explode. They bend without breaking. Anger becomes guidance, not destruction. Fear becomes information, not paralysis. Sadness becomes reflection, not collapse. This is maturity. Emotional control does not make you cold, it makes you effective. You still feel, but you choose how those feelings shape your actions. That choice is intelligence in action. Remember this mantra and repeat it when emotions rise. Pause first, think second. That pause is the space where wisdom lives. It is where intelligence returns. It is where your best self takes control. When you master this rule, your mind becomes calm, your decisions become clean, and your intelligence shows when it matters most. Your thinking rises or falls with the people around you. This is not a motivational quote. It is a psychological reality. Human beings are deeply influenced by their environment. Language, habits, standards, beliefs, and even emotional reactions are shaped by the people we spend time with. Smart people understand this early. They do not chase attention, they choose environments. Most people choose comfort. They stay around familiar faces, they repeat the same conversations, they laugh at the same complaints, and normalize the same limitations. Over time, their thinking shrinks, not because they lack potential, but because potential needs the right environment to grow. Smart people are intentional about proximity. They know that intelligence multiplies when it is surrounded by intelligence. When you spend time with people who think clearly, communicate well, and act with discipline, your own thinking begins to upgrade naturally. You start asking better questions. You notice higher standards. You become more aware of what is possible. This is not about status or ego. It is about exposure. A person surrounded by shallow conversations will struggle to think deeply. A person surrounded by thoughtful minds will be challenged to grow. Smart people also understand that growth requires discomfort. Being around smarter people can feel intimidating at first. You may speak less, you may listen more, you may realize how much you still have to learn. That discomfort is healthy. It humbles the ego and opens the mind. Smart people do not need to be the smartest person in the room. They prefer not to be, because being the smartest person in the room often means the room is too small. Building a smarter circle does not mean cutting everyone off aggressively. It means choosing where you invest your time and energy. You do not need to argue with people who mock growth. You do not need to explain yourself to people who fear change. Distance does the work quietly. Smart people also add value before asking for value. They listen, they contribute ideas, they show curiosity, they respect time and effort. Intelligent environments are not impressed by noise, they are drawn to substance. Trust grows when you show consistency, humility, and reliability. Smart circles are built slowly, through shared learning, through meaningful conversations, through mutual respect. They can exist in many forms: mentors, peers, books, communities, even digital spaces. What matters is the quality of thinking you are exposed to daily. Your environment shapes your inner dialogue. If everyone around you complains, your mind learns to complain. If everyone around you solves problems, your mind learns to solve problems. This is why smart people protect their mental space. They limit gossip. They avoid constant negativity. They step away from conversations that drain clarity, not out of arrogance, but out of self-respect. Building a smarter circle also strengthens emotional intelligence. You learn how calm people respond under pressure. You observe how disciplined people handle setbacks. You absorb behavior, not just advice. This influence is subtle but powerful. Over time, you notice changes. Your standards rise, your language sharpens, your tolerance for chaos decreases. You become more selective, not with people, but with energy. Smart people know that growth is contagious. So is stagnation. They choose to grow where intelligence lives. Remember this mantra and return to it often. I grow where intelligence lives. When your circle changes, your thinking changes. When your thinking changes, your life follows. Not suddenly, not dramatically, but consistently. Problems are not enemies. They are tests of thinking. Most people see problems as threats. The moment a problem appears, their body tightens, their mind rushes, and panic takes control. They complain, they avoid. They hope someone else will fix it. Smart people react differently. They do not panic. They pause. They step back mentally and change perspective. They do not ask, why is this happening to me? They ask, what is this asking from me? That shift changes everything. A problem is not a disaster. It is a puzzle, and puzzles are meant to be solved. Smart people understand that every meaningful life includes problems. No progress exists without friction. No growth happens without resistance. Avoiding problems may feel safe in the moment, but it creates bigger problems later. Unsolved problems grow. Ignored problems multiply. Escaped problems return stronger. Smart people face problems early. They understand that intelligence shows itself under pressure, not comfort. The first thing smart people do when a problem appears is slow down. They calm their nervous system. They remind themselves that panic reduces intelligence. Clarity begins with calm. Then they define the real problem. Most people fight symptoms. Smart people look for roots. They ask questions like, what exactly is wrong? What caused this? What part of this can I control? What part is emotional and what part is factual? This separation is powerful. Once the problem is clear, smart people break it down. They do not attack it as one massive obstacle. They divide it into smaller parts, one piece at a time. Breaking problems down reduces fear. It turns chaos into structure. It turns overwhelm into steps. Smart people also generate options. They do not search for one perfect solution. They create multiple paths. Plan A, Plan B, Plan C. Options create confidence. When you know you have alternatives, you stop feeling trapped. Smart people understand that problem solving is a skill, and like any skill, it improves with practice. They review what worked and what didn't. They ask, how can I prevent this next time? They build systems instead of relying on memory or emotion. This turns problems into progress. People who solve problems become valuable in families, in teams, in careers. They are trusted because they remain calm. They are respected because they think clearly. They are followed because they move forward when others freeze. Problem solving also strengthens identity. Every problem you solve proves something important to your mind. I can handle this. That belief is powerful. It reduces anxiety. It builds resilience. It increases confidence. Smart people do not wish for easy lives. They wish for strong minds. They understand that life will keep testing them, and each test is an opportunity to think better. Even failure has value. When a solution fails, smart people do not collapse. They extract lessons. They adjust. They try again. Failure becomes data, not identity. This is why smart people grow faster. They do not waste time blaming or avoiding. They invest time understanding and solving. Problems stop being personal attacks. They become training. Remember this mantra and repeat it when pressure rises. This is a puzzle, not a disaster. That sentence alone can return control to your mind. When you face problems instead of escaping them, your thinking sharpens, your confidence strengthens, your life becomes less reactive and more intentional. You stop fearing challenges, you expect them, and when problems appear, you no longer run, you think. Stories are not decoration. They are memory anchors that hold ideas in the mind long after facts disappear. Think about emotional control. Imagine a wildfire. It begins with a small spark, one careless moment, one emotional reaction. At first, it seems harmless, but without control, it spreads. It burns relationships, trust, reputation, and peace. Now imagine a dam. A dam does not destroy water, it controls it. It holds pressure, releases energy carefully, and turns force into power. Smart people are like dams. They do not deny emotion, they contain it. That image stays with you because it teaches without explaining. Now think about listening. Picture a quiet employee in a meeting. Others talk loudly, they interrupt, they repeat ideas. The quiet employee listens, takes notes, watches reactions, and speaks once. One sentence, one clear question. After the meeting, people remember that person, not for noise, but for clarity. This story teaches a truth many miss. Power does not always announce itself. Often it waits, watches, and speaks last. Then there's the technician and the screw. A broken machine stops an entire factory. Everyone panics. Production halts. Money is lost. An old technician arrives, listens to the machine, touches one spot, and tightens a single screw. The machine works again. The bill is expensive, not because of effort, but because of understanding. This story reminds us that intelligence is not about doing more, it is about knowing what matters. One correct action beats 1,000 random ones. Now consider adaptability. Imagine a worker whose job disappears overnight. Technology changes, the market shifts. Panic would be easy. Instead, this worker learns a new skill, studies a new system, and adjusts. While others complain about change, this person survives and grows. This story reflects modern life. The world no longer rewards rigidity, it rewards flexibility guided by purpose. These stories work because they mirror real experience. The brain remembers images before instructions: a wildfire, a dam, a quiet room, a single screw, a changing job. These images become shortcuts in the mind. When emotion rises, you remember the dam. When tempted to speak, you remember the quiet employee. When overwhelmed, you remember the screw. When change arrives, you remember adaptability. Stories bypass resistance. They do not argue, they show. They allow the listener to discover meaning instead of being told what to think. This discovery creates deeper memory. That is why smart people use stories to teach, to lead, and to understand themselves. Facts inform, but stories transform. A rule may be forgotten, a story stays. When pressure hits, the mind does not search for advice, it searches for images. Stories provide those images. They guide behavior in moments when logic alone is not enough. This is why stories are embedded throughout learning. They are not decoration, they are tools. They turn abstract ideas into lived understanding. They help intelligence appear when it matters most. They turn lessons into instincts. They make thinking visible. And once a story becomes part of you, it quietly shapes every decision you make. Over time, these mental images become reference points. They remind you how to act without effort. You do not need to remember rules consciously. The story surfaces automatically. That is the hidden power of storytelling. It trains the mind through experience without experience itself. When lessons are wrapped in narrative, they travel with you into real life, guiding choices silently, consistently, and effectively when you least expect it. This is how wisdom survives stress, time, and distraction, becoming part of who you are, not just what you remember in critical moments. Always. Let this sink in. Being smart is not about having answers. It is about asking better questions. Answers can be memorized. Questions shape the way you think. Anyone can repeat information. Very few people know how to question assumptions, slow down thinking, and see what truly matters. Being smart is not about sounding intelligent. It is not about using complex words or winning conversations. Real intelligence is quiet. It shows itself in clarity. Clarity in thought, clarity in speech, clarity in decisions. A clear mind does not rush. It does not need to prove itself. It does not react just to feel important. Being smart is not about winning arguments. Most arguments are distractions. Smart people choose their battles carefully. They know that not every disagreement deserves energy. They know that being right is often less important than being effective. They protect their focus. They protect their peace. This is what maturity looks like. From today, something changes. You're not just learning English, you're training your mind. Every sentence you listen to is training your attention. Every pause is training your patience. Every new idea is training your flexibility. Language becomes more than words. It becomes a tool for thinking. As your English becomes clearer, your thinking becomes clearer. As your thinking becomes clearer, your life becomes calmer. This is how identity shifts. You stop seeing yourself as someone who reacts. You begin to see yourself as someone who observes. You stop chasing every opinion. You begin to trust your own judgment. You stop needing noise. You begin to value depth. Let the world be loud. The world will rush, it will shout, it will demand attention. You do not need to follow it. You stay sharp. Sharp does not mean aggressive. Sharp means aware. It means you notice patterns before problems explode. It means you sense when to speak and when to stay silent. It means you recognize manipulation before it controls you. Let others chase attention. Attention is temporary. Wisdom lasts. Attention fades the moment the noise stops. Wisdom stays with you in silence, in difficulty, in uncertainty. Smart people do not build their identity on being seen. They build it on being grounded. They are comfortable being misunderstood for a while. They are patient with growth. They understand that clarity compounds, that calm is a strength, that thinking well is a skill worth protecting. From this point forward, your goal is not to know more than others. Your goal is to understand better than before. You measure progress by depth, not speed, by intention, not approval. When confusion appears, you do not panic. You get curious. When pressure rises, you do not react. You pause. When noise increases, you do not compete. You focus. This is the identity you are building, a thinker, a learner, a calm presence in a chaotic world. You do not need to announce it, you live it. And over time, without forcing anything, people will notice something different about you. Not because you speak more, but because when you speak, it matters. That is what it means to live sharper, not louder, not faster, but clearer. This is not an ending, it is a consolidation, a quiet decision to respect your mind, to train it daily, and to carry wisdom forward in everything you do. Let the world be loud. You stay sharp. If this message made you think deeper, even just 1% deeper, stay here. That 1% matters more than you think. Real change does not arrive as a dramatic moment. It arrives quietly, when something shifts inside your thinking, when you pause a little longer, when you question a little deeper, when you react a little less. This channel is not built for noise. It is not here to rush you. It is not here to overwhelm you with information. It is not here to compete for your attention. It is here for people who want something different, people who want a sharper mind in a distracted world, people who want a calmer life in a reactive culture, people who want clearer English, not just more words. Because language is not only about speaking, it is about thinking. When your thinking improves, your language follows. When your language becomes clearer, your confidence becomes real. Not loud confidence, grounded confidence, the kind that does not depend on approval, the kind that stays steady under pressure. If you are here, it means you are not satisfied with autopilot living. You are not satisfied with shallow motivation. You are not satisfied with reacting to life without understanding it. You are here because you want to train your mind, and training takes time. This is not a place for quick results or shortcuts. This is a place for consistency, depth, and clarity. Every video you stay for is a small investment in yourself. Every idea you sit with strengthens your mental discipline. Every moment of focused listening trains your attention. You are not just consuming content, you are shaping identity. An identity that values thinking over reacting, understanding over guessing, wisdom over noise. This is why staying matters, because the world will not slow down for you. It will keep getting louder, faster, more demanding, and without intention, it will pull you back into distraction. Staying here is a choice, a quiet decision to protect your mind, to feed it carefully, to train it daily. This is not the end of a video. This is the beginning of a mindset that says, I choose clarity, I choose depth, I choose growth over comfort. You do not need to change everything at once. You do not need to become perfect. You only need to stay consistent, one idea at a time, one habit at a time, one small shift at a time. Over time, those small shifts compound. You begin to notice changes. You listen more carefully. You speak more intentionally. You feel calmer in situations that used to trigger you. People may not know exactly what changed about you, but they will feel it. That is the power of internal growth. So if this message resonated, do not rush away. Do not let it fade into background noise. Stay here. Return when you need clarity. Return when you need calm. Return when you need to sharpen your thinking. This space is for learners, for observers, for people who respect their own mind. This is not the end. This is the beginning of your smarter identity. And it starts with a simple decision: to stay.